Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of CPOV Autographs. I, of course, am your host, Matt, aka Stormageddon. And before we get into this week's episode, if you are listening to this the day it came out, tomorrow night, Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern, I am going to be returning to Fuser on my Twitch channel. I haven't DJ'd live in a while, and I've been missing vibing with the music and my incredible audience. And so if you want to just hang out and vibe while someone mixes and plays some good music, you should come through. It's at twitch.tv/DJ_Stormageddon. If you don't want to miss out, you can also give it a follow right now, and then you'll get a notification when I go live if you turn on notifications. So yeah, come hang out, come check that out. I'm really excited to do some more streaming as time has allowed for it. Also, really quick, this is the last episode before we go into Dark Knight Fortnite. If you've been following Certain POV over on Twitter or Facebook, you know that the first 2 weeks of March, we are going to be doing a ton of Batman content, myself included, and I'm very excited to have an episode of Autographs related to Batman content. I don't want to spoil the surprise, so you will see it. It's with the incredible director, Johnny K, who's directing a Batman fan film called The Oath. So keep an eye out for that. We'll see you in 2 weeks. But for now, in this very episode, I am chatting with Matt Spaulding and Justin Pomerville, the hosts of Two Broke Geeks and the FBI's Most Unwanted, two incredible nerdy podcasts. And we were connected via the incredible Twitter community around this show and around my podcasts. And I'm really excited to have these two humans on. We chat about comic books, TV, movies, video games, a bunch of nerdy stuff, their podcasts, and much more. So without further ado, after almost rambling for 2 minutes, let's actually get into this episode itself and listen to my incredible chat with Matt and Justin right now. Let's get right into it. I'm really excited to be chatting with two nerds I met through the greater internet, Matt Spaulding and Justin Pomerville, the host of Two Broke Geeks and the host of FBI's Most Unwanted. Thank you both for joining me on the show.
Thanks for having us. I'm Matt, by the way.
Yeah, I'm Justin.
I love the Great Wide Web and how we can get connected via other people we know. I believe Scoop Jessica is our connection point, and the greater Hey Scoops community. And I appreciate when nerds kind of can just unite on the internet. I've listened to both shows, or rather, I've listened to Two Broke Geeks. I took a few episodes. I did a sampling of FBI's Most Unwanted, and like my favorite thing about both of your shows is that it's a very kind of casual, like, yeah, we just like nerdy things, and we're going to chat about it, and you can come hang out. And you know, your interview styles are also pretty casual and very similar to mine, which I appreciate. I guess my first question is just kind of how you guys got started in podcasts. You know, I know there's this quote on the internet that a certain amount of white guys per area need to have a podcast, right? That's the rule. Unfortunately, I'm trying to break that rule and bring more folks of all kinds into the podcast space. But talk a little bit about how you guys met and decided to start doing a podcast together.
Oh, geez. Justin, how long have we known each other? It's got to be like
over 10 years.
Yeah, it's more than that at this point. I think we've known each other close to. I think we're getting
15.
We met in college, so 20. I mean, I think we're getting closer to 20 years at this point than we. Because let's see, 2005 or 2006, I think would have been when we met in college.
Well, because you were a grade ahead of me. I graduated college. You walked with me. Because you also had, I
graduated college a little late, but I started in 2005 and you started in 2006. So I guess we started doing stuff together in somewhere in the neighborhood of 2006. And you had a radio show and we kind of just met living in the dorms in close proximity to each other. And then I started being on your radio show all the time, I think is how we really started to be friends. And then it became our radio show after a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
And I think the podcast just came around because I think it was originally my idea just because in my day job.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, because just in my day job, I spend a lot of time by myself and I started listening to podcasts as a way to pass the time. And that's where the idea of having one kind of came from. and it just
Yeah, he messaged me about like it was after college. It was like 2012, I want to say.
Yeah, it was 2012 or 2013 we started this.
Yeah, and he was just like, "Hey, I've been thinking about like doing a podcast of just us talking about like nerd things we love." And I'm just like, "Hey, if you want to do it, I'm in. Like, why not? We hang out we talk almost 24/7."
Yeah.
And we go on. I was telling Matt right before my Matt came on, like just some of the like we've just kind of gone on all these adventures together, not just because of the podcast, just because of our friendship, but it has made some really interesting like episodes we did, like when we went to New York City Comic Con, or when Matt came out to visit when I lived in California. Like we've got on some insane like adventures, and I think part of it is just how comfortable we were just wanting to like go on these things and then do a podcast where we talk about all the nerd stuff we do in general, but then we can also come back and be like, we just did this, we went and saw this person, or like the interviews we do on here. It's just so much fun. And then Matt brought up the idea a couple like 3-4 years ago. Matt and I, we were talking about X-Files, and so you have Two Broke Geeks, which is mostly just us talking about nerdy things. FBI's Most Unwanted is a podcast that started with Matt is a huge fan of X-Files, and I never watched the X-Files. I kind of was in that weird realm of just I never had the attention for it. So that's kind of the idea where the second one came from, is more of a rewatch for him, but then also getting the initial reaction of how I felt watching it for the first time.
Correct. Yep.
I love that. It's funny you talk about starting a podcast because you talk about a lot of stuff. My video game podcast, Fun and Games, that I do with my good friend Jeff Moonen, started because whenever we hung out, him and his spouse's name is Sarah as well. So our Sarahs would go off and talk about something, and we'd start talking about video games because that's all we ever talked about. And we'd talk about it very loudly. And I think Jeff's Sarah at one point goes, "Why don't the two of you just start a podcast already?" And we're like, all right, you know what, we will. And so many years later, here we are, but also like the idea of going through media with someone who hasn't experienced it is always really interesting. I was saying off the air that my spouse and I have done that a few times. We did it with The West Wing last year or 2 years ago. I had never seen it, and she had seen all of it. And so when I expressed interest in watching it for the first time, she was like, "Oh yeah, let's do that. That would be great." And we got through all of it. Because in the pandemic, when we can't go anywhere, we might as well at least watch some TV.
Exactly.
Please get vaccinated and wear a mask. Anyway, but now we're doing it with the show Castle, which I'd always wanted to see and was never on streaming, and now is. And I think it's fun to always kind of get that perspective from an experienced watcher of like, oh, this is cool. I wonder what that's going to happen. And like see them remember stuff as they go through it too. Because I don't know about you guys, but I can't remember 8 seasons of any TV show I've watched.
No.
If I watch something, I'll remember like bullet point moments. But for the most part, it's like, oh, that happened. My favorite thing about rewatching an old show or watching an old show for the first time is all the guest stars that you think you might have missed.
Yeah.
Like, or that now from something modern that you're like, oh, they were in this? I totally forgot they were in this. Like, that's always fun. Have you had moments like that already with the X-Files? Like, oh, I can't believe this person's in this.
He has. I kind of remember all the notable guest stars, but like, Jack Black was in the X-Files and Seth Green was in the X-Files and a bunch of folks. And the other thing about doing a podcast with someone you've known as long as I've known Justin is I've kind of reached the point where if nobody else listens, I don't give a fuck. It gives me just not that he and I aren't going to talk anyway, but it gives me just extra dedicated time during the week where I'm going to sit down and talk with my best friend. And later on in my life, if something happens to me, then he has a record kind of our friendship, or if something happens to him, I have a record of our friendship. And that's kind of important too, because our show is both of our shows are a lot of just jokes that make ourselves laugh and hopefully make other people laugh. And, one of my other really, it became even more important to me in the last 3 years is another friend I had for most of my life, died a few years ago. And thank you. I'm, and I have vaguely a record of our friendship, but I only have 3 photos of us together out of knowing him for over 20 years. And I have all the text messages he ever sent me, and I have some voicemails I saved that he left me. But beyond that, all I have is my memories. And so going on all these adventures with Justin and taking pictures in recording our thoughts on stuff is also just a way to just, this is memories as well. So I think that's kind of a benefit of recording a podcast as well.
It's a really sweet way to look at it, which I'd not really ever thought of, but like, I'm very close with all the co-hosts on all my shows, and like, most of them I've known since before we started recording. And so that is a very lovely way to think of it. I'm curious with, and you guys talk about this a little bit on Two Broke Geeks, but like, nerd culture's become very divisive lately. A lot of, safe to say, you're already laughing. Safe to say a lot of straight, white, older nerds don't like the change in the direction that a lot of stuff is going in. And what I love about your show is, though you are both at least white as far as I know, but I'm not going to assume your sexuality. But you are very open to the shifts in the industry, and like, your complaints about shows are never about the race of a character or characters change. It's about like story issues or how bad CGI huts look, which I agree with 100%. And I love that. I love how aware you guys are of who you are and the show you have, and that you still are just as much about diversity and inclusion and expanding these realms. Is that an active thing that you try to do? I have to imagine like you're aware of it, and it's hard not to be, but like, I appreciate how welcoming and open you are, and how you kind of push against the bullshit that we see online.
It's weird. Like, I work in a comic book shop, so I've worked in like multiple comic book shops over the years, and it's such a weird concept because I see a lot of people come through and they look at a new comic book and they get pissed off because they changed Daredevil to a woman, or when they first introduced Miles Morales in the Spider-Man, everyone's like, no, it's Peter Parker.
Especially since Peter Parker still existed, because Miles Morales was a character introduced in an alternate reality. It's not like they replaced a version of Peter Parker, but we're still publishing Peter Parker comics, and people were mad that a black kid was being Spider-Man.
Yeah. Or I know there was the one that still sticks with me was when they introduced Kamala Khan as the new Miss Marvel, and so many people were upset with having like the first Muslim
American superhero.
Yeah, and it's like, and I just don't understand. I've grown up in a culture with my parents have taught me to be respectful of everyone, and everything changes, and you should be welcoming to everyone, no matter what their race, sexuality, everything like that. Like, and so when I see stuff like that, it makes me more angry as a fan that there are fans out there that are so stuck in their ways with this kind of thing. But I also know that there are specific characters out there that I would be ripshit pissed about if they changed, because we were talking about like Black Panther. If they ever made him white, it would be the worst idea possible.
And that's the one people always point to too. They're always like, "Well, would you be okay if Black Panther was a white person?" It's like, no, but do you not understand why that is a really stupid question? Like, you have to understand why that's a really stupid. And the other thing to me is, I think the only character that I see where currently, and this will change at some point in the near future, but the only character I see as currently his whiteness being part of who he is Bruce Wayne. And I've said this before on Two Broke Geeks, and because Bruce Wayne comes from old generational wealth. And currently in the United States and in most of the world, unfortunately, most of the people with generational wealth are white. And that is going to change in our lifetimes, because there are now super wealthy black people and who have kids and who are now having grandkids and are going to be able to come from generational wealth. So even pretty soon, Bruce Wayne could be a black person, but like Superman, Wonder Woman, any of these people, there's no reason they are white, especially Superman, because he's an alien fucking being who doesn't even come from this planet. And
the people who get mad about that with Superman, like Superman and Captain America are both characters created by Jews during an oppressive time.
Yeah.
Like, do you know anything about, like, that's always the thing that gets me the most, and I'm sure it drives you guys crazy too, especially in comics, but it's everywhere, is like people want to complain about things without actually doing the research on the subject they're complaining about, which I think is common, especially amongst right-wing anything, but like in a lot of places even beyond that. And I think it's important to just try and have these open and interesting conversations and to be aware of the conversations you're having, right? Like if you're trying to understand and you're doing your best to promote understanding, no one's going to criticize you. And even if they do, like it's about discussion and understanding. Yeah. It's the people who are just like, no, it's got to be this way. You can't change it like you were talking about before. I just don't understand.
It's a strange thing to nerd culture, I think specifically. I think because I don't know if this is a thing globally. I don't have enough knowledge to say so. But at least in the United States, people are awfully tied to their childhoods. And I mean, I am too. Yeah. I still like comic book characters and cartoon. I still like all this stuff. But it doesn't make me feel like someone is taking my childhood away if something changes. Exactly. And nostalgia is huge in this country to a point that is strange to me. It's just strange because, the phrase ruined my childhood. It's like, how fragile are you that like your memories are ruined by something new? And it's very prevalent in the nerd culture. And I just am at a point where I'm like, a lot of you people I don't think understand the material that you claim to be a fan of, number one. Number two, like in our own very, very small way, we were, geeks were kind of, boy, I hate to use the word oppressed, but we're of an age where we're growing up like liking superheroes or whatever you get bullied for in school. Now superheroes are the dominant force in all of entertainment, and Star Wars is the dominant force of all in entertainment. You get beat up when I was a kid if you like that stuff,
Oh yeah, same.
And like if you expand that balloon, doesn't it make sense that on a much bigger level, like if you're saying, no, only superhero, straight white men can be superheroes, then aren't you essentially on a much grander scale doing the exact same thing to people who have already put up with way more than you have your whole life? It's almost like a thing where you're trying to have a little bit of power that you didn't have. I don't know. It grosses me out.
I get it. No, and I think a big problem is people assume that because something's changing, it somehow devalues what they had before. I mean, this happened most recently. Before we started recording, Justin and I were talking about the new Pokemon game, and a lot of people were upset because it's not going to have the same things that all of these other Pokemon games have had. And it's like, expansion and change is good, and they're also like complaining because they're making them easier in some places. I'm like, when you were 10 playing Pokemon, you were a child, and that's who that game was for. Guess what? Even though you're older and you still like these games, which is fine, they're not for you. They're still for the 10-year-olds, which is fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. That's not even a bad thing. Playing games that are meant for kids can be a lot of fun. You can get a ton of joy in it, especially like me playing with my nephew and stuff. Like, but people want it for them. Yeah. It was like when the She-Ra got rebooted, which was phenomenal. The She-Ra reboot was incredible. But everyone's like, oh, I don't understand. Why are they making this? Seems like it's so gay and it's for girls. I don't get it. It's like, this isn't for you. If you don't like it, that's fine. But this show isn't for you. I happen to love it. But like, I don't understand why people. I mean, it comes from being privileged,
Sure.
right? You assume everything is for you, and if it's not, why isn't it for you? And like, it just drives me crazy that so many people don't have that self-awareness.
It's funny you bring up She-Ra because I haven't watched the second half, but I came across the same problem with the He-Man reboot that like Kevin Smith did. I watched the first half of it, and it's really good, but it doesn't really have He-Man in it.
Right, it focuses on other characters.
It focuses on other characters. I cannot remember her name for the life of me. Like her, like his love interest, sort of. I can't remember her name, but everyone got mad because it focused on her, and her being a muscly armed woman who is going on these adventures to try and help He-Man. And everyone's like, no, it's He-Man, not He-Woman. It's just like, you guys are just.
It comes back to something we tend to say a lot I think it's the most valuable phrase any fan of anything can learn, and it's just not made for me.
Yeah.
Because I'll take one of our most famous examples from the two of us did not like the Captain Marvel movie. We thought it was very on the nose, very cheesy, very beat you over the head with the girl power message. Not that I have a problem with a girl power message, but in my mind, I think there's a subtler, more artistic way to do that. But then when I stop even for a fraction of a moment and step away from that, I go, of course, I'm an adult male. Like, this is a movie that is perfect for young girls growing up that need that girl power message and maybe need it to not be subtle because they're young enough where they need to be kind of, I call it beating over the head, but they need it reinforced in a very obvious way. And so artistically, my problems with how the movie came out essentially boiled, not my problem with what it's trying to say or anything like that, but my problem with just artistically how the finished product came out not suiting me is fine, because it's not for me. It's for somebody that needs it and would benefit from it being the way that it is.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean that makes a ton of sense. I mean, I think it's very easy to hate something just for hating it, which is also popular online and something I try to curb or avoid. But like, I think that this understanding that we don't have to like everything, we don't also have to dunk on people who like the things that we don't like. And I think that when you guys don't like something on your show, to bring it back to Two Broke Geeks, like I joked about the CGI huts in Boba Fett. Now, I have loved every episode of Boba Fett, but that is also because Boba Fett has been my favorite character since I was 4 years old and got that action
We're going to
figure.
pick on you now, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Nerd.
Of course you love Book of Boba Fett. It's bringing Boba Fett back to his roots. 90% absent and 10% standing around being useless.
But like, the reality is, I like that show, but I also know I have a bias because I like this character a lot. But that doesn't mean it's good or bad. People are going to take what they want from it. But that said, when you guys were complaining about the huts, it wasn't about the writing. It wasn't about picking on people who like the show. It's, this looked bad. Why does this look bad? They have so much great physical props on the show.
Why?
Like, why does it
they
look bad?
look like that, though? Why do they look like that?
They had a full puppet Rancor.
They had a giant interactive Rancor that the guy could put his hand on and stand next to. And they're like, these huts over here, no, we're going to make them look like cartoon blobs.
Yeah, and like, but that's a valid complaint, and it's easy to make fun of and crack jokes about. But that said, like, you guys have an understanding of what nerd culture is. You make fun and you pick on as a joke, but you wouldn't seriously go after someone for liking a thing. It's like, it's not for you.
Except if you're a fan of that Venom film, I will come at you full force.
Come for me. Both of them are amazing. They're gay as hell, and I love them.
I never saw the sequel because I was so mad at the first one that I was like, no, forget it. Like, we even had Matt and I were even contemplating making like a Patreon or something. It's like, if we raise a certain amount of money, I will go and watch Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah.
But I said before, and I'll say it again, like, I'm glad people love it.
Sure.
It's just not for me.
The funniest thing I saw recently, I had never seen it before, speaking of the Venom film, if you have a chance to see the video of Tom Hardy just swirling around on an empty blue set as he's supposedly turning into... It is the most ridiculous thing. He looks like an angry drunk guy trying to dance. It's so...
I love when behind the scenes stuff come out. My favorite thing is there's this famous clip of Hugh Jackman doing ADR for, I think it was Logan.
Yes.
Like the fight scenes.
Yeah.
And it's just him in a phone booth going, ah, ah.
Yeah.
And like with all of the intensity of this incredible Broadway actor, musical performer, Logan himself just in an empty booth wearing all black, just making noises. It's like that goofy shit makes me laugh. And like, but at the end of the day, also, I think I like the Venom movies because they take the piss. They're really dumb. Like, they're not great movies on any level. But like, I think that's what's fun about the nerd culture we're living in now too, right?
Yeah.
Is that there is something for everyone. And there is such a variety of stuff. It's my favorite thing to say on my gaming podcast is that gaming is for everyone. If you're playing a game on your phone, you're playing it on your Switch, you're playing it on a hardcore PC, gamer rig, doesn't matter. You're a gamer no matter what. We also don't call people who watch movies movieers. We don't call people who read. I guess we call them
Yeah, I was going to say they
like,
are readers, yeah.
they are readers. But like the idea that you have to be one of the tribe to enjoy gaming is so dumb. And like, I just like when we level the playing field. And there's been so much in the way of accessibility in movies, TV, video games. Mm-hmm. I think it's the future of all of this stuff. Like, why? It's like what you said, Matt. Why wouldn't we want more people in this bubble? Mm-hmm. We've been beaten down as kids, made fun of for liking this stuff. Now I can wear a Venom t-shirt with pride. Someone may say they hate the movie, but beyond that, like, why don't we want more people in this circle?
Also,
it's so
just make everything look like the world. Like the world isn't one thing, and as much as I love all the things I love, like, don't those stories get boring if you only tell? I mean, what kind of person are you? What kind of imagination do you have if you think telling the same story over and over and over again from only one perspective is the most interesting way to do something?
Yeah, no, for sure. Let's pivot a little bit and talk about some of your favorite things, especially over the last few years. We're living in a pandemic that is still unfortunately ongoing because people are idiots. But like, there's been a lot more time to play video games, watch TV, engage with media that we might not have. Has there been a piece of media that either both of you or one of you discovered during this time that you were surprised that you enjoyed? Finding something you might not have watched or played or read even, that you're like, oh, I really love this thing and I might not have had the time to sit down with it. Like for me, it was the Guardians of the Galaxy game that just came out not that long ago. Yeah. I thought I loved the MCU Guardians. I thought I loved the comic book Guardians. And then I played this game and was like, oh, this is the best version of these characters. Mm-hmm. And like, I didn't realize now I realize it for a multitude of reasons, but I didn't realize how much Chris Pratt was short shrifting us as Star-Lord until I read more comics and then played this game.
I actually know a guy who went to high school with Chris Pratt, and he as soon as Chris Pratt was cast as Star-Lord, he went, oh no. Because he knew immediately what a Chris Pratt Star-Lord was probably going to be versus a comic book Star-Lord. So it's funny you say that.
Yeah. But like, I was just so surprised by this game, taken by it. There were emotional moments that made me tear up, especially like stuff with Drax that they don't cover in the movies. It's like, that's been fun to find those kinds of things. Have you guys discovered any media or engaged with any properties that you might not have before that you've really been digging?
I know for me, I was one of the lucky few who got a PS5 a little bit later on, and the very first game I played was the PS5 remaster of Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh yes,
and I fucking love that game. I mean, I'm very picky about open world games because like I can never finish a Fallout game or an Elder Scrolls. Any of those, like Skyrim, I can never finish those games ever in my life. But with all the free time and stuff, like Ghost of Tsushima, I love like samurai culture. I love samurai films, and seeing this, like, I knew I was going to be a fan of this game just from looking at it, but I never knew if I was ever going to have time to sit down and really play through it. So that was probably the biggest surprise for me, was being able to play through that whole game plus the DLC and like really get engaged with it.
Yeah, that's a great game. What I love about that game, first of all, how far technology has come, that all of the actors look like the actors playing them. Like all of the characters in game look like those actors. And it's such a who's who of Asian actors, too. Character actors I've been seeing for years and years, and now getting to see them in a video game is really cool. And like this, it's got one of the best stories in an open world game I think I've ever experienced. It's just, especially if you enjoy, you know, that kind of culture and those old samurai movies, like, it's got a black and white mode where
that's the only way I played it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, okay. I love, like, so it can look like and be like one of those old samurai films, which I think is just brilliant.
Yeah.
Kurosawa mode.
Yeah, it's the Kurosawa mode. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge online player gamer. Personally, I've tried before, and I know they have an online component.
Yeah.
That I was just like, I can't. Nope, forget it. I've had horrible luck with online gaming with the Friday the 13th game, and I suck at Fortnite. So I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Look, you know your limits. That's important.
Yeah.
One of the things, I guess it's not just a past few years thing, but I'm always discovering new stuff that surprises me. Just because trying to find something to watch with my wife is always like, we gotta, you know, meet in the middle, because the things I would watch by myself aren't necessarily the things she would want to watch with me, and the things maybe she might watch alone. She doesn't watch a lot on her own. We mostly watch our shows together. So like over the past few years, I've watched a lot of good stuff that is a little bit older, but I'm discovering for the first time, like the show Killing Eve, which I really ended up loving. Killing Eve was really great. We just watched The Great on Hulu, which is so really good. And what else did we watch? We were really late to the party on this one, but we watched Schitt's Creek all the way through.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, boy, I can't believe nobody sat me down and forced me to watch this sooner while it was still really popular and still on. But
such a great show. I actually have an Etsy creator made David's lightning bolt sweater. And
cool.
A version of that lightning bolt
just
sweater.
Talk about by the end of the show, just where David goes as a character, and me just sitting there trying not to just openly weep. I'm like,
I bawled so much during the wedding.
Oh, so brilliantly done. And like, what was really fun also is like, there's been a lot more queer representation in media, which has been great. But there was something about David, like the wine conversation that he has with Stevie about just how he feels about his sexuality and his partners. Like, sometimes you like red, sometimes you like white, sometimes I like a Merlot. Like, it was just such a brilliant way to portray sexuality in a very casual, conversational way. Also the cast on that show is incredible. Yeah. I mean, Catherine O'Hara could literally do anything.
Yeah.
I think though,
it's just such a brilliantly made show.
I think though, over the last few years, I've found something that's in my wheelhouse is if you have a character kind of really either coming to terms with or just being really okay with their own sexuality. Like over on Doom Patrol, I don't know if you've watched Doom Patrol on HBO Max, but Larry's character arc just wrecks me and it's something about the power and the inherent joy of somebody becoming okay with who they are as a human being, because I think that's something pretty universal. Not that everybody has to struggle necessarily with coming to terms with the fact that they're gay or bisexual or pansexual or whatever, but just in general, growing up and realizing who you are as a person no matter what that means for you, it is always a thing, and it's amplified, especially on screen, by those stories of people who do have to go, okay, I'm gay, I'm bisexual, I'm this, I'm, and so that is a way that if you want me to get on board with a character pretty easily and love them and love their story arc, it's like, all right, let's make this queer person go on a journey.
The one that comes to mind for me was they started exploring it a little bit. I don't know if you've watched What We Do in the Shadows.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the TV show. No, I haven't had a chance.
Matt,
so
when you're
good.
done talking to us, go watch What We Do in the Shadows. It's so goddamn good.
Well, because like the newest season, it kind of explores a little bit more in just open sexuality, with like two of the characters that may or may not have feelings for each other. But there's like it's not a spoiler at all. It's just a great little bit I love. There's like two vampires there's a vampire named Laszlo, who's played by Matt Berry. He's like the best of the bunch.
Yeah, he is.
But he's having a conversation about like, it doesn't matter about your sex. It like just matters, are you getting sex? Like, it's a very comedic way to go about it. But at the same time, you're just like, it's just very open. After being like, nah, it's just if you love someone or multiple people or whatever, just cram it in their hole. Like, it's the more cruder way they kind of say it.
Yeah,
right. I appreciate you bringing up Doom Patrol. I haven't finished the current season, but we're I think about halfway through it. But that's a show that like I was familiar with Doom Patrol like by name just from other media, but I'd never really known much about it. But when I saw in the first season that it had Brendan Fraser and Alan Tudyk and like this incredible cast, and then some folks I'd never heard of before, I was like, and of course Matt Bomer, though you can't see him most of the time. Like I was like, him and both Brendan Fraser are doing mostly VO for that show, but like I was like, all right, let's check it out, and like I fell in love with that show so much. I mean, my favorite episode still is in season 1, the Danny the Street episode.
Yes,
is one of the most brilliant episodes in superhero media, and like also after watching it, I went like, because I again wasn't familiar with the previous runs, I was like, this must be just for the show, which is great. And like a friend of mine's like, no, Danny the Street,
it's all Grant Morrison.
Like it's all Grant Morrison. It's all actual like, and I was like, oh man, that's awesome. But like, I love that show so much. It's one of the most brilliant casts on TV right now.
It's the weirdest show that you'll ever see, and on paper, that show should not be that goddamn good. It really should. On paper, you would look at that and go, what are you talking about? This is ridiculous. And it is ridiculous, but it's also every single character on that show is going through something, and you're just invested deeply in what they're all going through. I mentioned Larry, but Cliff, and I'm not going to, since you're not all the way through this newest season, but what Cliff is going through, coming to terms with the fact that he was just a shitbag of a human being, and not a good dad, and where he ends up kind of by the end of the current season, you're like, all right then, like that's a journey that I've been on, and it's satisfying. And so, yeah, no, I really do recommend it to everyone. If you have HBO Max, please watch Doom Patrol. I think that it's my favorite superhero property right now because it's as equally about doing dumb superhero stuff as it is telling a story and going on a journey. It's like what you said, Matt. It's like I will watch schlocky action stuff all the time. Like I said, I loved both Venom movies, but like, if you give me something with substance and like a journey and like characters who are going through stuff, like I am an emotional person and I like going on emotional journeys. And any show, like we were just talking about Schitt's Creek, like it's super cathartic to see those stories resolve and weep during the wedding. Like I love those emotional journeys. It's why, some of my favorite movies have been incredibly well-told dramas over the last few years, because I just, as an adult now, I'm engaging in that stuff emotionally in a way that I didn't before, and I'm so grateful that a lot of nerd media is going in that direction. Well, it's you're not watching Peacemaker yet, but Justin we won't spoil it for you, but Justin will back me up on this. It's one of the reasons that I personally was surprised that Peacemaker is as good as it is so far and as popular as it is so far, is because if you just watch The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker is a dirtbag. He's just a murdering...
Yeah, he's a joke.
He's just a murdering dirtbag joke. And then all of a sudden, James Gunn is like, oh no, you saw that part. Now let me show you how complicated Peacemaker...
Let's pull back all the layers so you can see how wrong you are.
Uh-huh.
I love that. Yeah, I definitely want to watch it. I'm a big John Cena fan. I used to watch wrestling, and I loved him when he was, when I watched wrestling. But also, I just think he is genuine. First of all, he seems like genuinely the nicest person to have ever lived, which is like all of his charity stuff and all of those things that I've seen over the years. But like, I genuinely like him as a comedic actor. I think he's funny. He's got good timing. And so like, I'm excited to eventually sit down and watch Peacemaker because I'm a fan of him, even though again, in the movie, it's just like, he was fine. I mean, I loved that Suicide Squad movie. I also love Margot Robbie's journey. Birds of Prey was a brilliant movie, and to see her continue to shine as Harley in Suicide Squad is just great. I still haven't seen the first Suicide Squad movie. At this point, I think I'm just against watching it.
I mean, it's fine. It's one of those movies, like, I get enough out of it that I'll watch it every once in a while. But no, it's not great.
I was drunk in Mississippi when I saw this film, and I was just like, I don't know if I want to watch this again.
Yeah. I had an idea. I had something I was going to say, and I completely lost it. Oh well.
The plight of a podcaster.
Yeah. Was it about John Cena?
It was about John Cena. It was.
There you go.
It was. I lost it because I couldn't see him. It was. We keep saying it about John Cena. He's not a great actor. I don't think he has a lot of range in him, at least not yet. However, he is a great performer. You were talking about loving him and I think that's why he was the biggest WWE superstar for as long as he was, is because he knows what he is good at and he knows how to bring it, and he doesn't try to do what he's not good at. And I think in the show, James Gunn and all the other directors and him are all utilizing that very well. And so in the show, he is very good at what he's doing.
I mean, the wrestlers that transition to acting that do it best, like, of course, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, is he knows that he's got a limit. Although I feel like his range has gotten much bigger over the years. But, like, the charisma that folks like The Rock, the folks like John Cena have, like, they know they have it. And so it's just putting it to work in the places. Look, I watched the Rampage movie, and was it a good movie? Not by a long shot. But was he great in it because he was giving it 110%? Absolutely. And so, like, I love seeing those kind of actors work. It's why Nick Cage is still one of my favorite bizarre actors of all time.
You and I just became new best friends.
I was going to say, Justin, now you got to talk about Nick Gage.
I have read a few of your Nick Gage write-ups, and they're great.
Moonstruck just went up yesterday.
But, like, I love him I just watched The History of Swear Words very recently. And what I love about Nick Cage is, like, he's always known. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, he's a bad actor. It's the same thing that, like, Keanu Reeves went through. Like, people had to warm up to these actors, but they always knew what they could do. It was just the world understanding it. Because Keanu now with John Wick and the new Matrix, like, everyone's seeing what me, a true Keanu Reeves fan, have seen since Bill and Ted, is that he is a great actor, but if you put him in places where he doesn't fit, it's not going to work.
Dracula.
That's the big one. But like,
so miscast in that movie. It's painful.
Right. But like, I rewatched Johnny Mnemonic probably more times than I should have over the last few years, and like, you can see hints of John Wick in that movie, like, because of the kind of actor he is. But it's the same with Nick Cage. Like, Nick Cage has always known, also like Christopher Walken, like, he knows he's got a bit. But when people lean into that, you get movies like Pig, you get movies, like Face Off, you get movies, all of these movies where he is so off the wall. The idea is don't try and normalize. It's why he's so good in Kick-Ass. Like, you don't try and normalize this character. You let this actor, you let him be as wacky as he wants, and you fit it to the mold.
Which is really funny with Pig, because I fucking love Pig. Like, because it was one of those films where, like you said, like, we knew he had it in him to be a super serious actor, but because of everything he's ever been given for, like, the last, up until about before Mandy, it was just a lot, which is, I'll talk about it later with my whole Nick Gage thing, but like, because I'm just treading through water right now. But, like, there's just all this stuff where it's, like, it's mostly, you can tell he's just honing it in to pay the bills, or he was asked to do just, like, hey, we have this film, and he's like, I'll do it, kind of
He
deal.
got himself in a hole where he had to do paycheck movies for a long-ass time because of his tax problems and the fact that he spent every drop of money he was a spender, still is a spender to my knowledge. He has money problems, so you can say he's done a lot of bad stuff, and it's like, yeah, he works because he has to, you know. But it's interesting to see actors go the other way too, where they become more and more and more of a caricature of themselves. And one of the ones I think is a big one is Al Pacino, where Al Pacino eventually he started out, you know, you watch him in The Godfather and everything, and he's so subtle and nuanced and good, and you get to somewhere around Scarface or Scent of a Woman or whatever, and he's Mr. Hoo-wah, she's got a great ass and you got your head all the way up in it, you know. He's just, he becomes a caricature of himself. So yeah,
it's interesting to see the evolution of older actors and how they shift and how they change, you know. I mean, I miss Robin Williams dearly. He was one of my favorite comedians, but, like, the serious movies that he did towards the later part of his career are some of his best work. You know, Patch Adams is an incredible movie that, like, when you watched his old stuff, you would have never thought he could have done, or even some of the thrillers and the villains he's played. Like, it's fun. That's a different kind of nerdom that I love to engage in, and going through, it's the cinemaphile in me, right? Like, I love movies, and so, like, to see those kinds of things too are really interesting to me, and see those that growth. Before we start to wrap up, I do want to give you Justin a moment to talk about Nick Gage, which is because you guys do writing on Atomic Geekdom as well, and, like, that is you're kind of going on an adventure through Nick Cage's career, rating his films and discussing his films. And it seems, you know, you have serious points in it, but it's mostly tongue-in-cheek, like you want to experience this actor that you like and that you want to go on an adventure with. So tell the listeners a little bit about that.
So I came up with the idea because, both Matt and I are part of a bigger group called the Atomic Geekdom. We both do some writing on occasion. I mostly have done a lot of, like, movie reviews, especially for the short time I was out in living in Hollywood, and I went to a couple of, like, his premieres. So I came up with this idea called the Nick Gage after I did the review for Prisoners of the Ghostland. So the whole thing is basically I generated a bar with the help of our good friend Jenny, who does a lot of the editing and does the graphics and stuff. And she's also, like, one of the head people of Atomic Geekdom. So the best film so far on this list is Mandy, and the worst so far on this entire list is Willy's Wonderland, and that's kind of where we're generating from. So I have all of his films. Some are not there because I already have reviews up for Pig, Willy's Wonderland, Prisoners of the Ghostland was already up there, that are going to get shifted over to the Nick Gage, like, review stuff. But yeah, Mandy, Colors Out of Space, Moonstruck are already up there, and then coming up is Next and Season of the Witch.
Oh, I cannot wait for you to watch Next. Next is a movie.
Oh, I already did it.
Oh, good. Like, Next is a movie I paid to watch, and the ending, it's the first time in a long time I was in a movie and I went, what? Like, I was looking around at other people like, what? Is this really the end of the movie?
Yeah, but like you said, I'm a giant fan of Nick Cage. I'm super excited for the films, the 3 films and the Renfield film he has going that are coming out. As of recording right now, the next one I'm going to be working on is Face Off.
Nice.
There's no rhyme or reason to the order. I just put all the movies on a list and I hit a number generator just
There
to
you
give
go.
everyone a fair shake. But I am scared of revisiting some of the ones I've already seen, like
Right.
Jiu-Jitsu and Worlds Between.
Oh, but you get to watch The
uh,
Wicker Man. Bees!
I love Wicker Man.
Beyond the meme, that movie I am quite entertained by. Well, that's awesome. I love to see when people get into a niche. Like I have a friends of mine who were hosting a Keanu Reeves podcast that's now currently on hiatus. But like,
Nice.
you know, like I said, I'm a big Keanu fan. It's called Can't Get Enough of Keanu, and like I love those kind of niches. That's how you find a following in podcasting and in written media and pretty much anywhere is appealing to a niche, because the internet is such a broad place that everyone loves something and you can appeal to that love and find a common community. Before we wrap up, something that I've been asking a lot of my guests, and we hit on this a little bit, but like, you know, we're still living through a pandemic. It's been hard for a lot of folks for a lot of different reasons. There've been ups and downs for a lot of folks for a lot of different reasons. I'm curious if there's a standout moment for each of you that like is a silver lining, a positive moment that came out of all of the negativity that's been born out of this, because I think it's always good to look at the positives where you can.
This is an odd thing to say, but I weirdly wasn't as affected by the pandemic. My life was very normal during most of the worst parts, simply because my day job is with the United States Postal Service. I still got up and I went to work every day. I still my life continued pretty much as normal, and I don't do a lot. We've talked about, Justin and I like to go on adventures, and we are both of us very antsy to like go somewhere and do something and experience something without anxiety of getting sick or making somebody else sick, because we miss that. Right. But beyond that, my life is mostly go to work, come home, watch TV, read a book. So my silver lining for myself is essentially just that I was fortunate enough to have that pandemic experience, because not to say I didn't experience a lot of the global nebulous, more existential trauma that other people, that everybody else experienced, but I didn't experience I've got to stay at home in my house.
Right.
All the time fighting, with my family, because we're all on our last nerves, because even though we love each other, we this is too much time to be around another human being all the time kind of thing. So for me, that's one of the biggest things is I've just, for as much as I've complained about my job over the years, it did give me this thing where I could still have that sense of normal for a couple years where a lot of other people didn't.
For me, it was a little bit more drastic. Right before, like, I had just started a new job right before the pandemic hit. I was working for like a new movie theater in like downtown Los Angeles. The pandemic hit, and so I stayed in Hollywood for roughly about like half the year. And then I kind of came to the conclusion I needed to come home back to Vermont. So I like packed up everything and came back. I mean, the silver lining is definitely being able to still be like close of how close my family is. And we're still, we do pretty well, and we've been there for each other. It's being closer again to like Matt, and still having still being able to have like not to keep the sanity of friendships by like, oh man, like I was for a while, I didn't have a job because I was working in the movie industry, so I had to like just live off of when they did the whole everyone who wasn't working, like whatever it is, I don't even remember what it's called at this point. But being able to come back and have a job, even though it is retail in front of people that are fucking idiots. So I would say silver lining for me is just being able to still have a healthy family, healthy friends, and still also being in touch with everyone from LA and the possibility of maybe going back at some point down the road. Who knows?
Sure. But I mean, what I love about these silver linings is that they're just very human. They're just very human feelings. I think that, and why I've been asking this during this run of autographs is because I think that we all need, it's core to the idea of the show itself, but also it's finding the good where you can, no matter what else is going on, right? We all struggle in our own ways. And I think being able to find that is really important. I want to thank you both for being so generous with your time and chatting with me. I really love both of your podcasts. I love Atomic Geek. I'm going to read a lot more stuff on there now. I had only recently become familiar with it, but I'm excited to explore it. Why don't you take this opportunity before we officially close the show to promote yourselves, where people can find you, where they can find the shows, where they can find Atomic Geekdom, all of that stuff.
Hit it, Matt.
Don't find me. I don't want you to. After all this, I've been pretending to be a nice guy this whole time. I don't want to talk to any of you. I don't like people. Yeah, our shows are everywhere. We've mentioned them a lot. Two Broke Geeks and the FBI's Most Unwanted. They're on all the podcast places. Wherever you're listening to this, you can hear our show too. Atomic Geekdom is atomicgeekdom.com. That's our network that we're on. I think that's it for me.
Yeah, and I'm just you can find my Nick Gage on the Atomic Geekdom. We do have an Instagram and a Twitter, but
that's right.
We barely ever use them.
We're terrible self-promoters.
We really are. Like, I kind of hate social media for a long time, but sure. If you want to follow us and maybe give us the boost of wanting us to keep continuing using those, you can find us at 2BGPod for both of them on Instagram and Twitter. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm Jay Pomegranate. If you want to follow me on Instagram, Justin Pomerville. I am an actor, sort of, or trying to be. It's failing.
If you say you are. If
you
say you are.
I mean, I am in a couple things. Just like, it's been a while, and I'm trying to keep booting that up, and also in my never-ending crusade to somehow get myself cast as the new Freddy Krueger if they ever decide to do Nightmare on Elm Street.
All right, that's a good goal. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you both being here and coming on the show. I'm so glad that we got connected in all seriousness. It's always fun to find like-minded nerds.
Oh, hell yeah.
Thanks, Jessica, for retweeting that tweet. I know you're probably listening.
Yeah. Oh, Jessica's definitely listening, and I appreciate Jessica. Jessica and Joey are some of my favorite folks in the world. Before we close the show, I have this saying on the show that I would love for y'all to do for me. It's this idea. It's born out of my now on indefinite hiatus music show, and the saying is music is life and life is good. It's this idea that as long as you're making something, creating something, fulfilling yourself artistically, no matter how hard life gets, it's not that bad. You can put that love and passion into that thing you're making. So if I could get Matt to say music is life and then Justin to say and life is good, we will wrap up the show.
Music is life
and life is good.
That's it for this episode of CPOV Autographs. Our theme music is by Michael Kill. Our logo was designed by Case Aiken and Joey Amons. If you liked the show, please rate and review wherever you get your podcasts. It's a great way to help us reach more listeners. Questions, comments, or guest recommendations? Email mr.matt.storm@gmail.com or hit us up on Twitter at CPOV Autographs. Thank you so much for listening.
This March, get ready for 2 weeks of The Bat. 2 weeks of vengeance. 2 weeks of The Dark Knight Fortnite.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't Screen Beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen beans.
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
Because you're all screen beans now.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.